Greetings. So this week I thought I would use this video to demonstrate how you can go about making an outline of your paper. And I thought I would use Brianna Norman's essay, Can Maternity Leave Laws That Benefit Parents Also Benefit Businesses, which we read 2 weeks ago now at this point. So using this as an example, I just want to demonstrate how you can go about making an outline of your own essay for the writing assignment for week 4. So I think it's important to keep in mind what needs to happen in your introduction. Brianna Norman, I think, demonstrates a really good example of introducing these 4 things in her first paragraph. First of all, engaging your audience with some kind of hook. So she uses a statistic, right? Only 12% of mothers have access to paid leave. That's supposed to kind of garner our attention. She also identifies a problem that she's looking at, which is that the lack of maternity and paternity leave laws are having a negative impact on parents and employers alike. She also identifies her audience. She identifies parents who she thinks should know about her issue, but she also says what many business owners do not know, sort of making sure that business owners are the ones who are hearing her. And then she offers a very clear thesis, and I really like the way that she identifies, she kind of breaks her thesis statement up into parts, because then it's very easy for the reader to see sort of where her paper is headed from here. She says better maternity leave policies can solve problems like lack of productivity, absenteeism, and turnover. Right, so that gives me an idea that in her paper, she's probably going to focus at least one paragraph on each one of those things. She also says overall health and environment of the business and employees will improve, which will improve the bottom line in business. So again, addressing that this is good for businesses. And I like to refer to this as a kind of roadmap. I might use that term when I'm giving comments this week. But, you know, how are you letting your reader know where your paper is headed from here, from this starting point? So I think when you go about making an outline this week, before we sort of dive into Norman's essay in more detail, I just want to remind you of this SPA structure that I believe I introduced a few weeks ago, thinking about a statement, proof, and analysis structure for all of your paragraphs. So in your statement, I want to make sure that you're making a clear claim at the beginning of your paragraphs. And I think if you're making an outline, really, if you can identify the topic sentences for each paragraph that you want to write, I think that would be a really great start for this week. Identifying what it is you want to actually be arguing in your essay in each paragraph. And I notice a lot of times that kind of in the early stages, some people tend to sort of summarize someone else's research in their topic sentences, but I just want to emphasize for you to try to make your own argument. And I think if you can make an outline that moves from one of your points to the next point, rather than, you know, moving from one piece of research to another, you should have more control over how your essay unfolds and how you structure it. So offering that clear statement and then using research or a quotation to support that statement. Again, if you're using a quotation, I'd encourage you to follow the quotation sandwich structure, which again is very similar to the statement proof analysis structure that I'm demonstrating here. And then finally, don't just assume that your reader is going to see the connection you're trying to make between your initial claim and the research that you're showing us. Make sure that you go in and kind of talk about how this statistic or how this quotation actually helps prove your point. How does your research actually support your argument here? And again, if you want to hold off on the analysis until you have a complete draft, again, if you're just trying to make an outline for this week, you could maybe hold off on the analysis. But I think if you can identify what you want to argue in each paragraph and maybe point to the specific quotation or the research that you want to use in that paragraph, I think that would give you a really good head start for this week. So diving into Norman's essay. So keeping her thesis in mind, right? Better maternity leave policies can solve problems like lack of productivity, absenteeism, and turnover. The first thing she does after her introduction is offer this topic sentence. Before we look at solutions, it's important to see where America stands in the world in terms of maternity leave. So she's sort of beginning by giving us some background before actually diving into that argument. And then she uses statistics to support that, like to show us where America stands, which is, last on a list of 184 countries and behind countries such as Bulgaria. So then she gets into her actual argument. Her topic sentence is, there are many reasons other countries mandate paid maternity leave. And then she sort of goes through each one of these arguments in detail, right? Companies value productivity, which you can see relates back to her thesis statement. But also that children need to be breastfed, sleep deprivation hampers productivity, and postpartum baby blues. So she sort of dedicates a paragraph to each one of these things and really unpacks, uses her research in each paragraph and really unpacks each point. And to offer some analysis on each of those points, she really supplements her research with personal examples and shows why the examples hurt a company's productivity and how they even hurt her productivity when she was working for a company, right? Again, moving to the second point, she says another important way that better maternity leave laws would benefit business is by cutting down on employee absenteeism. So again, you can really see the connection. It relates right back to the thesis. Like here's where she's transitioning and talking about absenteeism. And the points she brings up here are that new moms need time to heal and recover after giving birth. Without leave, sick parents will stay out of work for a longer period. And again, she really supplements that research with her own personal experience. She talks about having a friend who it took her friend a long time to recover because she went back to work earlier than she should have, probably. And talked about her own sort of experience with being ill because she wasn't taking enough time off. And then finally, moving to the last point that she mentions in her thesis, right? The most important way that better maternity leave laws benefit business is by reducing turnover. And again, her proof is childcare costs are through the roof, which might encourage new mothers to quit their jobs and just stay home with their new babies. And she uses, again, her own personal experience here to supplement that. So I think the way that she uses personal experience is something that a lot of you can draw on in your own papers. It's been nice to see how your arguments and your research has sort of developed from that initial writing assignment in week 1, where you're just sort of listing your interests. I know that's not the case for everybody, but be sure to use ethos or your own personal experience if it's appropriate, because that's a strong way to maintain your credibility in this paper. And then in moving towards a conclusion, Norman sort of mentions that maternity leave laws are great for business. Leave doesn't cost businesses as much as we think it does, is how she opens one of her paragraphs. And again, supplements that statement with personal experience, her own personal experience of leaving a senior position and being replaced by a less productive and less experienced worker. So again, I think even when you read the required essay for this week, try to pay attention to, how is the author structuring her paragraphs? Are there clear topic sentences? And try to think about how you will want to structure your paper, but how can you sort of just, for this week, get as far as just building an outline that includes what you want to do in your introduction, what your thesis statement is, and then what your topic sentences will be. So good luck with that, and please, as usual, let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Thanks.